Hi, I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. In this video, I'm completing section 1.3.1 of my notes in Epistemology, and the section is really small. It's just really a half a page. Yesterday, I uploaded section 1.3, and the discussion really went beyond an hour. So what I wanted to do was, instead of rushing through the last half of the page, just to make sure that I condense and fit everything into sort of a predetermined time span, I wanted to give this last bit its own section. So the discourse is still from yesterday, or for the last series of videos, and what I'm going to do is continue just the last half of page 8, beginning with section 1.3.1. Okay, so let's get into the analysis. This is epistemology. I need a marker that works. And this is section 1.3.1. Okay, so to continue the discussion, what we recognized yesterday was the attempt to try and, I'm just going to recap real quick to get us caught up. And I'm not going to do too much review, but a solid recap. So what we recognized yesterday was the attempt to generalize from an instantiated point, right? Which is typically taboo, right? You don't want to make generalizations from one instance, right? You can't say that you had a bad experience with this personality type, and thus all people of this personality type, or all people of this race, or all people of this gender, or all people of this X, because of this one person or this one reference, you generalize from one individual reference. We said that that's not the way it goes. There are instances in which, however, you can make case-based generalizations from a specific representation, right? So you can make generalizations from a specific representation, and the question is, how do we do that? So I talked conceptually a bit for the last hour about exactly how that could conceptually be done. And more importantly, I think what's important is for individuals within the social sciences to recognize that it is a tool that we have as social scientists, to be able to make these types of recognitions of the world, right? The idea is that it requires a particular type of insight, a particular type of mind, to be able to do one of two things. Either construct a conception, a theoretical analysis that's so specific, so unique, so generalizable that it can then apply to other social science and other social scientists. It's not an easy thing to do at all. It is also, likewise, it's also important that we recognize that there exist in the world instances of uniqueness that we can then identify, right? So the question is, now, what are some of the implications of what I've said before? And that's the first point that I want to discuss, right? So implications. Alright, so the implications. So, first thing, if the epistemologist is capable of satisfying both requirements, right? And the requirements that we said before was, one, the theorist has to demonstrate the possibility for this thing to exist, right? As we said yesterday, the conditions for the possibility of X, right? What are the necessary conditions to satisfy the possibility of X? What do we need to do? What needs to be in place in order for this thing to manifest, right? As we said before, it can't be the case that, well, actually, I don't think I have said it yet. Did I say it? I don't know if I felt like I said it. Oh, no, I'm going to say it in a little bit. So I don't want to jump ahead. I only have like a few more bullet points, but I don't want to jump ahead to this point. The idea is, as individuals, we recognize that our theoretical conceptualizations, our theoretical analysis, needs to be bracketed, needs to be framed, and the question is, framed in terms of what? our theoretical analysis needs to be framed in terms of observable experience to some extent, right? Now, obviously, for those of you who know a more sort of rigorous, detailed account of philosophy, in the a posteriori sense, not necessarily the a priori sense, because obviously the a priori conceptualization exists more theoretically, more abstractly, right? It, by definition, is independent to experience. I don't want to get into that too deep because that will take me much deeper than I need to be at this level. So let me just read some of the, let me read the implication. So if the epistemologist is capable of satisfying both requirements, that is the requirement for possibility and the conditions for possibility and the articulation of which, and how that possibility manifests, and it is the first descriptive instance of X, right? It's the first time that X has been described, then the epistemologist may have also satisfied the very difficult condition of describing a specific instantiation which can be generalized, right, across classes. So that the idea is the epistemologist, the researcher, the social scientist needs to, and this doesn't happen first and sort of in succession, right? This could be occurring simultaneously. Most likely it is occurring simultaneously, right? While the researcher is positing the conditions for the possibility of X, right? Conditions for the possibility of, right? The conditions for the possibility of X. The researcher is simultaneously describing how these conditions manifest, and also how these conditions relate to the occurrence of X. So, as I said before, there are, I gave a brief example in terms of legal theory, and I actually got responses back, which was awesome. I got responses back almost immediately from a student in law school now. And the example that I gave was with reference to precedence. Though I don't know anything about precedence in its technical sense, you can conceptualize what the conditions for the possibility of a particular case in the future serving as an instance of precedence, right? You can imagine as cyber technology advances, there are going to be more requirements to codify, in terms of law, rules and regulations for conduct. As a matter of fact, today when I was driving to work, I heard on NPR that they were talking about new regulations on the Hill today, I think, as of the upload of this video, to regulate mobile app advertisements, right? And the aggressive tactics that some app developers use to harvest information on your phone and blah, 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 right? So you can imagine that this case could potentially serve as precedence, right? If there's a huge case of some violation that some company did in harvesting personal data and invading consumer privacy, and also not recognizing consumer privacy, and there's enough uproar about, I mean, there's immediate uproar about the invasion of individual privacy, then that case is very, very unique in terms of, not a privacy case, I'm sure there's prior precedents for privacy cases, but for the ways in which mobile advertisers harvest information on your phone, right? That's new. I mean, we just got mobile phones in the last decade or so, and the ways in which the developers harvest that information, the technology is brand spanking new, so it looks very unique. So it could, I don't know for a fact that it will, but it could, cases in the future could serve as precedents. Why? Because we recognize the conditions for the possibility of new cases of the like, new methods, you know, this person versus this mobile app developer for intruding on, you know, the individual's privacy. This person versus another mobile app developer for the same thing, right? For intruding on someone's privacy, and on and on and on, right? We contextualize, right? And this is the important part. Now I'm going to go more abstract and stay away from the legal stuff. We contextualize, right? So that in contextualize, right? We contextualize the content of the analysis, right? That's exactly what we do, right? We contextualize the content of the analysis. It's important to